Hi, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I just want to correct a couple of things that have been misunderstood. Trouble with video, trouble with the internet, trouble with Gmail and all of this cyber communication is it's so easy to have things misunderstood. And one of the things that's misunderstood most about what I do with people who are staunch Christians is that I don't believe, as if I'm in a sort of an empty space, and I think that when I pop off, and whenever that's going to be, that I don't believe in anything, and that really isn't true. What I don't believe in is organized religion. Now, do I think that no one should have organized religion? No, I don't. I respect people who have a faith in organized religion. My wife, Beth, is a born-again Christian and a staunch believer in organized religion, as is my brother-in-law, Pastor Timio, and my other brother-in-law, Pastor Gilbert, who has that little church in Ubai, which we've helped before. So stop believing that I don't believe. Yeah? Because I do. I believe that there can be no other way than that there is a creator of which we are part, of which we share a certain identity, an identification with. Didn't he make us in his image? So, in whatever form you think of the creator, and for me, I jokingly, with respect, say that I can't believe in a God that looks a little bit like the grandfather in the Waltons. Much as it would be lovely to think of a nice golden throne up there in the clouds somewhere, with this grandfather in the Waltons, looking so benign and just a wave of a hand and he knows everybody. I can't believe in something as simple as that. And so I believe in a creator of which we are a fragment and of which we live our lives, and which we return to the creator to make the creator, blasphemy here, we make the creator greater than the creator was before we rejoined. Dare I suggest that little me and little you, when we die, as fragments of the Creator, return, and in some indefinable way we rejoin the Great One, the Great Power, the universe, the driving force, whatever you want to call that. But that's what I believe. So, in other words, don't think that I don't believe. I just don't believe in the same way that perhaps you do. Be you a born-again Christian, a Roman Catholic, a Protestant, an Aspidestra, whatever you are is fine by me. And what I'm saying is, don't think that I don't believe, because I got strong beliefs. But they are such that I usually don't share them, because people start saying, well, how can you believe in a creator that doesn't know everybody? Well, you can. You can, and lots of people do. And lots of people that believe so are not atheists or agnostics or gymnastics or whatever they are. They're just different believers to some of the others. So, that's one of the things. Now, the other thing that I believe in, and I did remember it when I started this conversation, but I got involved in talking about the religion thing, and now I'm not so sure that I remember it. But if I keep waffling on, I might. So, one of the things that I like to think is a good idea was something that was brought up by one of my subscribers when he said about Seth and about alternate realities and quantum jumping, one of them said, well, what if we could quantum jump and go into another reality and learn everything that is in that reality and then come back again? Well, works for me. And actually, there is a guy on YouTube who teaches, and I did say this in the video that I dealt with this, he teaches what he calls quantum jumping. And the quantum jumping is that time and space are not as fixed as our scientists would have us believe. And the universe is not as fixed as scientists would have us believe. And I think that arrogance is the biggest block that we can have to learning. So someone out there is going to say, well, listen who's talking. Can't get any more arrogant than that guy. Well, actually, I'm only too humble about how much I have to learn. And it was a huge relief to me to find out that I don't have to know everything. It's possible to not know everything. It's likely that you don't know everything, and that's okay. So, in not knowing everything, what does that allow us for? If we can just not disbelieve everything, that'll be the first step to finding out more about what there is to find out about. And I think I've mentioned this book once before, and it's called The Emerging New Science, and it's by a man called Dr. Noel Huntley, a brilliant man, multi-talented man, artist, musician, nuclear physicist. And in his book, which is no easy read, I can tell you, I struggle with it for a day, and then, boy, I can hear it all going on in here. It's clanking like an old gearbox. But it makes you think. So, if we're going to talk about learning to believe, about believing to learn, if we're going to talk about all of those things, then what we have to be ready for is to change. And always you have people who are on the sidelines, they're not going to move at all, and they're not going to change. Now, here's the sad fact. There's no point in trying to persuade them. Someone once said to me, how do you judge whether to continue to talk to someone about something that they are interested in or not? How do you judge? Well, how long do you persevere for? Let's assume that you have got something valid to say, and you could teach someone something, or you could share it with them. He said, imagine that the earth was coming to an end. Perhaps that's not so unlikely. But anyway, he said, imagine that the earth was coming to an end, and you had so many seats in the spaceship that was going to take us all to freedom in the universe. Wow. So, if you're rushing off and you've got just so many seats to give away, and you rush over to the first person and you say, this is what's happening. The earth is actually, it's going to end, and we've got the spaceship standing by. You can get on it and you can be free. You can live. Now, if he starts saying to you, well, I don't know. How many seats have we got? And can I bring my dog? And, well, I don't know. How many toilets are there? What would you do? You'd say, bye. And then you'd go on to the next person. And you would keep doing that with a sense of urgency until you found someone who was willing to listen. And maybe when we're talking about things which are important to us, which we could share with value to more than just ourselves, then maybe you would not persevere too long when you see that brick wall of disbelief going up. Now, I'm not trying to sell any particular way of believing. I'm talking about the mechanism of believing, of learning, of taking in new information. Now, if you want to change, what's clear is you need to take in new information. Now, I don't know, supposing you're an RN, you're learning to be a nurse. Do you go in during the day and refuse to learn anything? No, you don't. If you're learning to be a doctor, if you're learning to be an artist, if you're at work learning how to disassemble a transmission, you're there to learn, you're there to take in new information. So the taking in of new information is vital to change. So if you want to change, and my belief is that change is hard won, even when you want to change. It's difficult. It's difficult to get this rusty old machinery, in my case, rusty old machinery, and actually get it moving and get it to work. What did Einstein say? That the human mind is just capable of solving the problem of the human mind. Well, that's what you're up against, isn't it? You've been given a problem to solve with a computer that has a problem. Think about that. So the very problem that the computer is going to solve with your help, your guidance, your fingers on the keys, has got that problem. You're going to try to find a virus that is about hiding itself. And that's why these things are very clever. Well, these things about our mind and about how we can change our lives are also just as clever and just as ruthless in holding us back. And I know you're probably going, oh my God, here he goes again. It's all about behavior. And of course, it is. What is the point of coming home after a day at study of change, of behavior, and then when somebody speaks to you, who you normally get angry with, you say, what? What would be the point? You've taken in some new information, but you haven't taken it on board. And that's the trick, is you can't just take in something intellectually, like from here upward. You have to take it in so that it encompasses the whole of the mind and the heart, which is most important. Now, why would I suggest that you have to be in the mind and the heart? Why would I suggest, when scientists are telling us, well, the brain is an absolutely brilliant thing, and of course it's only operating at 10% of its potential. Well, the brain is operating as it operates. It's doing what it does as well as it can for you. Now, maybe you've got a lightning fast brain. In my particular case, a good example would be I can think quite clearly and quite deeply at times. And when I watch my wife and I see her writing, she writes at a speed which is impossible for me to comprehend. It's just like lightning fast. Well, I don't think like that. I don't think that fast. And then on other stuff, philosophical things, spiritual things, maybe I think in a different way, and maybe I think in my own kind of lightning, which Beth say doesn't. So you have the irony where her Quicksilver mind thinks as it writes, and then my own kind of Quicksilver mind helps her to look at what would be applicable in meaning or working out the meaning for something that's in the Bible if she wants to talk about that to children at Sunday school. So we all have a different way of looking at things, all have a different kind of IQ, all have a different way and aptitude for thinking in certain ways. But always the goal is to change. The goal is to get better at what we do, whether that is in thinking, whether it's in singing, whether it's in playing, whether it's in music or science or whatever. And the change is not about the brain. It's about the mind. And the mind operates in quite a different way. How do I know? Little old me. I mean, here I am on top of a hill, and what do I know? That's how you would feel. And you would be right too. Oh, what does he know? Has he gone to school? No, I haven't. I left home when I was 15, left school when I was 15. What do I know? Well, I know how to look, how to observe, how to draw some kind of conclusion. And one of the easiest conclusions to draw is that it's not the brain which operates our skills. It's not the brain. The brain cannot calculate above a certain speed. That's what for each movement. When we're talking about the brain working out about a movement, we have a finite reaction time, which, if I remember rightly, it's something like a 16th of a second. That's why we can only take in so many still frames when we watch at the movies. They don't have 52 frames per second. They have, I think, 16 or 20 a second. And why do they do that? Well, there's no need to do it anymore because the mind or the brain doesn't take it in any faster than that. So there are limitations to the brain. Now, one of the really good examples of this is, say, a violinist. Now, when you listen to a virtuoso violinist, they have these tiny little fingers tips, not like these bunches of bananas that I try to use my phone and my computer with. They have tiny fingers, and they go on tiny strings, and the strings have no markings on the fingerboard. There are no markings. There's no frets like on a guitar. And it's a tiny thing. It's only about this big. That's about how wide the fingerboard is on a guitar, on a violin. And when they play something like Flight of the Bumblebee, they are moving at a faster rate than the brain could move the fingers one at a time. And so what you do is the skill is set up so that you are actually only thinking one unit. Now this is difficult to get over, so I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to explain it to you. You are actually doing one thing at a time when you first practice. So when you first practice, say, a note, you go bum, and then that takes all of your attention, bum, and then you do two notes, and you go bum bum. Now, you would have to think completely separately for each of those two notes at first, and then after a while, for one attention unit, you can move both of them for the same amount of attention. And then after a while, you can move three, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, and 11, and 12, and so on, until in the end, for one spark of your attention, you can play a flurry of notes. And you couldn't possibly go did. You can't do that. That's because the brain operates in a certain speed. The mind does not have that limitation, and it can expand to do so many things with only the same single unit of attention. Hope I've managed to get that across. It ain't easy, and maybe I'll have to do it again. Tell me if I do. Okay? And do I know what I'm talking about? Well, of course I don't. Heavens, I got no education. What would I know about it? But I watched a violinist, and I think to myself, how can he think about all of those notes in 1 second? Think about the flight of the bumblebee. How many notes? How it simulates a bumblebee. And the violinist is playing all of those notes. Is he thinking of them all? No. Am I thinking of every letter in every word that I'm saying to you? No. Are you hearing every letter in every word that I say to you? No. So there are whole bunches of things, duties, movements, skills that are being handled by one flicker of your attention. And that's the way that it goes. That's the way that skills are built. That's the way that we learn. That's the way that if we're really paying attention, we can change. And especially when you're learning a skill, you need to be able to repeat so many times that after a while you don't have to think about how many movements there are. It will all be taken care of in one. That's enough for my meandering. If you are still watching, you're a stronger man than I am. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for watching. Wherever you are on the time zone, good evening, good morning, good day. Do well.